This is from David Curwen's letter to Aleister Crowley, dated September 11th, 1944, in which he introduces himself to Crowley. Curwen writes, "Sometimes I feel I know you. I have read so much of your writings. I flatter myself that I can now follow your train of thought quite easily, but it was not so for years, and I did think, then you wrote a lot of nonsense. I think I read most of the books you have published, that is, all except the poetry. I have little patience to dig knowledge out of that. I find it hard enough to make sense of the prose. I am just over 50 years of age, and for 30 years have studied, delved, and probed into every school of occultism. Being able to read Hebrew, I can follow your Kabbalistic theories fairly well. I once had a teacher for 6 years, a Hindu. I never saw him in the flesh, but have a picture of him. He claimed to be a friend of your teacher at Madura, India. He began to teach me the Bhairavi Diksha. Do you know what that is? You see, I am not quite a beginner. I have always been a lone wolf, sort of, in occultism, and dabbled here and dabbled there, without having much to boast about. My dearest wish is to see magical ritual carried out. I fear to rush in and do things without a guide, although it is high time I received some recompense for 30 years of searching. And this is what I am on about. Do you teach any more? I want someone to show me practical magical ritual." When I read this, it does sound abrupt. I have had a surfeit of theory, and feel I deserve better for all my years of labor. I have actually read thousands of cult books. Can you help? I have your Book of Thoth. Along with your Equinox number 8, it is quite easily followed. But where are the cards packs that should have been printed at the same time? Can you get the Chiswick press to do some, since you have the blocks? Whatever the cost will be, I am quite prepared to pay within moderation. My number of your book is 56. How do you like that? You know best the interpretation. I dare say, in your time, you have had thousands of people write you the above sort of thing, and knowing along what lines you think, I do not expect very much, as you must be getting a bit tired of humanity in general. So that I was pleased to get your note, although it was rather disappointing. I would like a chat with you when you are in town again. Most of the booksellers seem to look upon you as some kind of an ogre, but I am not a bit nervous of that. The terrific amount you have written only tells me you are wonderful." End of quote from this letter. The following is a telling letter from Aleister Crowley to David Curwen, dated October 9th, 1944. "Dear Sir, do what thou wilt with the whole of the law. Yours of October 3rd. Really now, even when you're trying to apologize and asking favors, you cannot keep the sneer and the snarl and the grumble out of your letters. Lest I should be misjudging you, I submitted them to 2 experts. One said, he should use a hyphen, Curwen. Either would fit. The other, a cantankerous old curmudgeon. There, you seem to want people to put on a peep show for your benefit. I suggest you go to Brighton Pier. A penny will initiate you into what the butler saw. I do indeed, as you say, see the state of mind you are in. But what I do not see is one glimmer of true aspiration. You have much knowledge, but where is there any understanding? Read One Star in Sight. Do you feel fitted to undertake that program? In the book I am now working on, Aleister Explains Everything, I devote a chapter to showing why my style is so merry and bright. Briefly, because I am bubbling over all the time with the pure rapture that initiation brings. Should I then be gloomily pious? Think of Helena Petrovna Blavatsky roaring with gust of blasphemous laughter, introducing her star pupils in public with, "He's a bloody fool," and so on. Whereas you, soured, embittered and frustrated, do nothing but complain. I don't know what the devil you did in your last incarnation, or what horrors lurk in your horoscope. I should like to see this. But it's obvious that nobody's going to throw a bone to a dog that asks for it by barking and snapping. And then, the questions you ask. For example, which are the planetary trumps? If you couldn't understand the plain attributions given over and over in the book, what can you understand? They were actually printed on the reproductions of the cards. I give up. Love is the law, love under will. Yours sincerely, Aleister Crowley. Curwen replied 4 days later to Crowley's letter on October 13th, 1944. he wrote. Dear Sir, thanks for your letters, and all the flattering things you have said about me. Obviously you are offended at my rather outspoken manner, and therefore I bow my head and say, I deserve no better treatment for you. I am duly punished for careless words. Were you to know me, you would realize that I am no curve or even a wen. Neither am I sore, bitter, or any of the other nice things you have said. Never mind. I asked for it, and you laid it on thickly. I first wanted a set of tarot cards very badly, and was exasperated at your offhand reply. Pardon me, I just got down to making them myself by hand. I have been one of your unknown admirers for years, and I have been made to look a fool to two scholarly disciples of the Order of Hidden Masters for asserting, on your own information, that you were Antares, the head of the order. I was very discomfited by the fact that you are not. They laughed at me. How? Not a very good start, you must admit. But is this my fault? Hence the unguarded words of my letter. Deliberately or not, your replies to my expressed questions left me a little wiser than before. On this point, let us say, I am dense. So I am. Is it any wonder that my letters took on what seemed a hostile or querulous tone? You are, after all, a stranger to me, and I realized there was no need at all on your part to reply. But I do wish you had been kinder in your letters to me. That is, not so offhand. Doubtless you have a large correspondence and little patience, while I am the businesslike mind that likes to get down to brass tacks quickly. My fault, not yours. I will say that for you. You have offered your help. After this, I do not expect you to bother about me. I have read One Star in Sight, but what I wanted was a little proof that all the degrees mentioned are not just like Masonic degrees that really do not mean a thing and confer no power. You know quite well that the Brighton Peep Show you mentioned was out of order. I merely want to meet up with occultists who can show me that all the years I've studied are not wasted, and all the things I've learned not just chimeras. The Theosophical Society is full of students who are content to know theories without ever putting them to the test. I just do not want to feel that I, quote, evermore came out of the door that in I went, as goes Omar's poem. The happiness or joy of initiation you mentioned, I believe is true for a yogi teacher, had often told me thus. But I have had no taste of this. You are quite wrong to assert that I have not a glimmer of spiritual aspiration. Night and day I long for some inner experience that will show me once and for all that a lifetime's probing has not been wasted. Often I have seemed to be on the point of some great revelation, but I never get anything that I remember of importance. Please don't think I am grumbling if I merely tell you of my earnestness, for I want you to know that I am sincere. Does this mean anything to you? Liber Legis is very stern at failures. Nor am I sore, embittered, or frustrated. I know enough to understand that only the peaceful mind can achieve anything. And outside of occult study, I am far from being a sad, cantankerous person. Quite the reverse. None of my friends would but admit that I am the best of company. There is no reply expected to this letter, but sometime I may meet you, and you will be surprised at the different sort of person I am to what you have described me. I am sorry you showed my letters to others. It would have been better to put my letter in the fire. In all probability, the mood of the moment was not about my best. But let's forget it. I want to go on studying your books without feeling that the authors said or thought ill of me. My birth date is 10th of August 1893. You wanted to know it. With best wishes and respect, yours sincerely, David Curwen. This is a letter that Curwen sent to Crowley just a few days after he had been initiated into the 9th degree of the OTO. The letter is from December 21st, 1945, and Curwen writes, Dear Brother Crowley, if I had not sent you a word before this to thank you for the kind manner in which you received me on Sunday last, it was simply because I had nothing else to say of any usefulness. So now I want you to know that I am glad that I, at last, have seen you personally, and I appreciate everything that went with my visit. At present my mind is rather in a confused state, perhaps a little vacuous, and perhaps a little bit gorged. I feel I am not able to think clearly about the matters we discussed, and I waited until now. The reason is because possibly I am, in some way, disappointed and frustrated. I seem to have arrived at the end of a journey which I felt was really just beginning. although I ought to have known better from the last few letters that what happened was all that could happen, yet secretly, maybe subconsciously, I had hoped for something more to round off my visit. Could it have been that I hoped that you had some bit of information for me that, not mentioned in your letters, but which, having received from you direct, would change everything for me? I suppose I'm just being silly, but even in empty masonry one meets many new friends. From your letters, if I had not done some wishful thinking, I would have known that A. There was really nothing to add to that which I have known for years, the secret of the Amrita. B. Although the OTO may have been in existence sometime in the past, it was non-existent now. C. I was being sworn in to keep a secret that I would have never divulged to anyone in any case. D. The needlessness of asking me for so much money for no conceivable useful purpose at all, except that you must live, of course. But why not be frank about it? You really do not know me. I am really generous by nature, and if I have even mentioned the money part of the business, it was because I am in the dumps with regard to money at present, as I have explained before. As for Dr. Wilkinson, well, I do not know what to think. As a brother of the 9th degree of the OTO, he seemed singularly vague about most of the direct questions I put to him. Blame me not, if I have the curious feeling of being a dupe where he was concerned, that he merely acted out the part assigned to him. However, I really don't care about that. I was secretly hoping that the swearing-in might mean that you could now tell me more about the OTO where members meet, who some of them are, when they meet, and anything else that would give me an entry into the OTO, so that I could feel at least, if I am no wiser, though poorer, I am at least a member of an organization where I may contact people thinking along the same lines as I do. It used to be a jest of yours about calling a man aside to swear in into tremendous oaths to keep secret what he was going to be told, and then telling him what he could learn by buying a sixpenny book at Foyle's any day. That is how I feel exactly, although I should have known better, I admit. There is little more I want to say for the present. I do not blame you at all. I see now why you at first resisted my entry into the OTO. You did not like the idea of telling me that it did not exist except on paper, but you really did say so in your letters, in a roundabout way. There are still quite a few things that I would like to discuss with you, but this time as equals. We have both traveled along different paths to meet in the same place, and you have much experimental knowledge which I have not, on the magical side per contra. You have taken many things as of magical results, which in fact are quite natural, and would have happened anyway, had you done nothing about it. Best wishes to you, and no hard feelings. Yours fraternally, David Curwen. This is one of Crowley's last letters to David Curwen, dated the 10th of May 1947, and Crowley writes, Dear Mr. Curwen, do what thou wilt to be the whole of the law. Your letter of no date exhibits yourself as a confidence trickster of not too high quality, as it should be obvious to the meanest intelligence that I am not the kind of person to let the same wasp sting me twice. All this business about solicitors, for instance. As soon as you are in good standing, you can go to them with a letter of authority from me to show you the relevant documents. From it you will see that I have 4 executors and 2 literary executors, and the whole of my assets are already vested in the sovereign sanctuary of the OTO in return for an income which ends with my life. I am further prepared to bet you £100, the money to be deposited in cash with a disinterested party, that I have never made any statement to you or to anybody else about the OTO which is not strictly and exactly true. But I am certainly not going to hand over all the private businesses of the order to a man of whom all I know is that his word of honor has no meaning for him. Incidentally, you talk about the worthless piece of information. You cannot judge its value unless and until you have tested it, which you, on your own statement, you have not done. Your theory that the sovereign sanctuary is a figment of my imagination exhibits you as a really not too clever calculator. It is unlikely that I should have been working steadily for close on 50 years and got my name well known all over the world without having acquired some considerable following. Anyhow, as soon as you make good, you can of course be supplied with a list of the members in good standing. I am sorry if I cannot take a higher view of you, but you gave me your solemn word and confirmed it in writing that you would pay the balance of your fees on the dates agreed. Now, you're trying to sneak out of it by what I can only describe as plain dishonesty, coupled with the kind of obstinate foolishness which I am glad to say I have rarely come across previously in my life. Nor need you think that I am likely to call it a day, as you say so breezily. The OTO is a serious business, and knows how to protect itself, and to insist on its rights. If a little surprise should come to you, you must not be surprised, for you have had fair warning. This is not the first time that tricksters have attempted to get the better of me. Yours sincerely, Aleister Crowley.